What Disney says, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue. So my question to you this morning, do you have the courage to pursue your dream, whether as a business entity or as an individual? I am Blessing Eichie. It's great to have you join us again this morning on the Front Burners, where we have the gentleman and the lady who ignite conversations that would turn pressing concerns into opportunities. Thank you once again for joining us. Good morning, my fellow change inspirers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad it's Friday.
Oh yes, thank God it's Friday. Good morning, Dr. Idahosa Osamhanze.
It's a good Nigeria, and it's so quick to be a Friday.
Yes.
The week is running so fast, and somehow we're here to talk about the issues and bring heat to the news that makes headline.
Maybe the year 2025 is pursuing change, so it's on a run.
I think so too.
All right, let's look at some other headlines that made it to the news. One of them, you already heard that story when Evelyn Ohiole was talking about it, and something you did not want to miss. But it's quite an interesting headline, so we're taking it again. The House of Representatives Committee on the review of the 1999 Constitution has proposed the creation of 31 additional states in the country. If approved, this will increase the number of states in Nigeria to 67. Oh yes, did I hear somebody say, finally my local government is about to become a state? What an elevation. Well, Dr. Idahosa and Oyinpreye Krumale are here in the studio. So we understand that currently Nigeria has 36 states, 36 if you add the Federal Capital Territory, it comes to 37. So, and some of the states or some of the areas that are proposed to become states, if we look at those areas, population-wise, doesn't seem like they have enough population to become a state. And then, if the reason for this is to encourage better representation or equal representation of areas that seem to think that they are marginalized, and also encourage economic viability, the question is, do we need to create states out of every area to encourage economic viability? Now, we have the FAC committee sharing what's the revenue that the country makes to different states and then to the federation, to the federal government at the end of every month. Do we have enough resources to go around if they now become states, or we begin to apportion smaller allocations to different states? Exactly what is the problem here?
There's no problem. The Nigerian political elite had always had a struggle for power. And because the elite base is expounding, some people are being shown may not see the light of the day of being a governor in their lifetime. And the only way to contemplate about this participation is looking for alternative to balkanize the republic so that you have lesser fraction, so they can have their shots at governorship. And I think that has been the main driver of state creation in Nigeria. So it has always been political consideration and never economic or development considerations. As a student, I participated in Anton Banefol's committee to create for that state. And then, of course, I remember then, of course, there was this thinking that, look, there was a need to create Afghanistan state. And I can still remember vividly a position to Anton Banefol that everything they do is not even itself as financially sufficient by itself, let alone breaking it into two. What are we talking about? Is it not to get government close to the people? We have 774 local governments that should be functional. So the issue is not about, in short, in my argument, I mean, feel that states are irrelevant, really. We can take them off the equation of the federation so that we have the federal government and local governments. So that makes even more sense than creating structures that will just increase the bureaucracy and then make people look poorer. So for me, it's not about the size of, we can compare, for example, with America, for example, that has 50 states, like you just have rightly mentioned. American landmass is over 3 million square kilometers. Nigerian landmass is less than 924 square kilometers.
Yet we want to have more states than the US.
So it's not as if that the size of the states are too big. Some states are just 3 million people.
Some even less.
Yeah, so it's not about the fact that people are looking at development. I see it purely political. Political elites wanting to have structures where they can have representation, themselves be represented, and then, of course, their life ambition of becoming a governor or a senator or whatever it is, the office that appeal to them, really can find the light of the day. But I think, for me, it is not about state creation. There's no argument we are going to put on the table. Whether it's the argument of national unity, the argument of security, really will not fit the bill, because what you are doing in here, if you are balkanizing the state, then of course, those things that you are cutting into two will have to share assets, and then of course have to struggle to see how to fund themselves. The states are already struggling, and I don't think there's another need to weaken the state. And I think if there's anything the National Assembly people must be thinking about is how to reduce the cost of governance and cut down expenditure drastically, that we are not putting politics or sacrificing development of the people on the altar of politics.
Now, Priya, the 1999 Constitution, there have been calls for it to be reviewed. Of all the many issues that could have come up as front burner issues for review in the 1999 Constitution, are you disappointed about the call or the proposal by the National Assembly for the creation of more states? What other issues do you think should be more important at this time when there is a review of the 1999 Constitution?
Okay, first of all, excuse me. When I saw the news and I read it, first of all, I thought it was a prank.
Who's pranking who? Who's pranking who?
Our representatives
pranking
Nigerians.
Oh, it must be.
It could be a possibility. And if it was a prank, I would have been more happier. No, like fine. Sometimes we needed all these to loosen up. But this is not coming from the place of prank. This is coming from the Constitution Review Committee of the House of Representatives. Do you know that the House of Representatives have the most vital, vibrant, young-blooded, intelligent Nigerians that are in the second chambers in making laws for the good and governance of this country? Because those who are in the Senate are looked as senior. They are, no, the senior. That's why it is called both the red chamber and the first chamber. And in the days of when we were in the university, we look at those in the left ideological camp as very cerebral, who possess this intellectual quality that other students want to emulate. And then the House of Representatives, the Green Chamber, has really shown this side of them. But to come up that what we need at this precarious point in our nation, where we have issues of banditry, to the extent that for 2-3 years consecutively, the Nigerian Defense, the headquarters, has been the one, going away with the large chunk of the Nigerian budget because we've been fighting terrorism. We have IDPs in camps in the northern part of the country that needs to be integrated back to the society. We have our electricity sector. Now the government is talking about another hike again, in increase in tariff, and they are telling us to tighten our belt. Modular refineries that we are supposed to proliferate across the country so that we can have a larger volume of producing oil in our country. And all of these pressing needs what we can consider at this point in time is the creation of 31 states. In 2023, the National Bureau of Statistics said, how much did we generate as 36 states? When I saw it, I even thought that, no, probably we didn't. I don't think we did that, that figure. I have a little problem with that figure, but it stated that we had the 36 states generated 2.4 trillion naira. Is that not a paltry sum?
And out of which Lagos had 1.4.
1.4 trillion. This is annoying.
So if Lagos had
This is
1.4, it means that 35 states together
That is why I said I have a problem with the figure
just
itself.
a little over a trillion naira.
So
and
why-
you want to fragment the others.
So why are we just rising up to annoy Nigerians? This is seriously unserious.
Seriously and serious. I like that. All right, but what I think here is this. Sometimes it feels like maybe this is a past time for the reps and even those in the Senate. Like those who were in the House of National Assembly see their duty as some past time. So they're catching cruise, as we say in Nigeria, just having fun. How do you, of the myriads of issues calling for attention, pick creation of 31 new states, bringing it to 67?
Not LCDA.
So you see that all this creation of commissions, local governments, LCDA, call it whatever you like, is not meant for the people at the end of the day. It's just something that people want to have their share of the cake. You want to make a state out of worry. What is the population of worry? I mean, you could say, well, they have natural resources, so they would be viable. The problem you're trying to solve, you will create more. Because there's been the problem of, even for the Wari indigenes, where you have the Shekiris, you have the Urobos, and the Isoko people, you still have this thing of who is the superior tribe there. You have that problem there. So by the time you create a state out of Wari, thinking you would have solved the issue of some people feeling they're marginalized, you will create a bigger one, because then you will find a particular ethnic group saying they are supposed to have the capital city within their area. You would have other issues. So basically, it is not solving marginalization. If development is widespread, you will not even having any group saying that they are marginalized. But because development is not widespread, and even those groups that sometimes complain of being marginalized, when they are given the opportunity, they don't do any better for their region. Twice, the South has produced, particularly Edo State has produced Minister of Works during the time of the late Tony Aneni, and when we had Engineer Mike Onolimeme, we had them as Minister for Works, and they were from Edo State. How much did Edo State benefit when it comes to federal roads done? It was as if they didn't have anybody representing from their own area. So the issue of people thinking that, oh, if we have our own state, we would better develop ourselves, is just some illusion or some delusion even. Because the problem is with the people. And the quality of leadership that the people get is what they deserve. Because these leaders are taken out from the society. So it is what the society is made up of that they see as leadership. So I think the issue of development should be addressed from patriotism, from a system that holds people accountable, and not with the proposal that if we create more states, we will bring development more to the people, we will have a more viable state. As they are, they're not viable. If you take away federal allocation, I doubt a lot of states can pay salaries. I doubt they can have their states running with IGR. So why create more and create more problems? It just means that the federal government will need to be doling out more money to more centers.
Yeah, but look at it this way. We just had this conversation of having to reform our tax processes. And people have been having sleepless nights because they said, okay, let VAT be shared by derivation. And all the 19 states have not come together and said, look, we are not going to take derivation. we want to share it on the basis of size and the rest of it. You see, these are very serious conversation that really touches my heart as a person. Because you think that these guys are unserious. They are very serious about this thing. And like I said in my opening, it's the fact that what is paramount to these people is the fact that they need to take a shot. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was speaking to my friend and I said to him, "Oh, you said we're nursing senatorial ambition because the senator representing us had become a governor and the seat is vacant. So how far have you gone?" And he said, "Well, the governor has appealed to him to step down because there are too many people on the queue. And so we don't have to offend some people. And so because of his closeness to the governor, he had to step down." You see what that means? That there's a very long queue. I say it here every day. People who want to become governors. And these guys are within the same political space. And so what they are just trying to do is to create jobs for the people who are on the queue. We said here yesterday, a top politician of Nigeria says, poverty drove him into politics. And poverty is driving so many people into politics. And the only way for them the only way to avoid poverty or escape poverty is to be part and parcel of the political system. Because a lot of these people you see around cannot survive without government free money. And that is why, of course, you see, it matters to them. Because it is their personal survival, really, not the survival of the people. And that is what is the driving force behind this. So when we create a new Warri state, of course, the tension between the Delta's Igbo speaking and Warri speaking, of course, will reduce. Well, what's the tension? There will
be more tension between
what is the real tension
and the
yes, that is the point I'm making. What's the real tension here? The real tension is who become governor, who become what within the state. And so, is it going to come from the Anioma side or is it going to come from the Warri side? So this is the conversation. But when you also go close to Warri, that's why I said to people, even if you create 774 states in Nigeria, it cannot reduce tension. Because in my own local government, for example, where I come from, in Igwebe local government, you find the tension between Igwebe and Ebele on one hand, and Ekpo on the other hand, who is going to be. And in terms of even the delimitation of the local council, you find that out of the 10 wards that you have, about 7 of it is in one community. So this gerrymandering, which happened in political space, is what the issues are. So even in that small local government, the tension of who become the chairman is huge. So if you come to my own local community called Ebele and they say who is going to become the chairman, if you create a local government, it will still be a problem because we have 5 different towns that make up the 10, and even the towns, they are not agreeing. So this is the tension that is there, and it will always be there because the struggle is for power, not for development. And I don't know for how long as a country that we are going to be more concerned about politics than development, which really matters. Because if the nations are vibrant, if prosperity is everywhere, not many people will be looking out to say, I want to go and be a governor or be a senator to be able to escape poverty.
So right now, it's a proposal. And after some time, they're going to have readings and debates over it. And then there will be the input of Nigerians through town halls and maybe some open meeting. What do you expect Nigerians to do at this point in time? How would Nigerians convey what is most pressing for Nigerians at this time? Now, these reps were elected because they should be there to represent Nigerians. They should be there to put forward the pressing concerns of their constituencies. But from what they've just done now, it doesn't seem like the representation is for the people. How do we correct that?
Okay. Members of the House of Representatives, each of them are representing a constituency. And let's even assume that they live in the constituencies that they represent. Let's assume that they live with the people. Let's even assume that they are aware of the needs of the people. Let's even assume that they have town hall meetings where they even discuss the problems befalling the people, the economic challenges that the people are facing, and they needed their representative to solve. Let's assume that they know that. So, are they saying that the foremost priority in the heart of the people at the moment, in their various constituencies, is for the creation of 31 more states in the country? Now, they themselves are quite aware that the constitutional procedure that is laid down to create states in Nigeria is a very rigorous procedure and process to scale through. Because if you do not have two-thirds representatives, or if you do not have two-thirds affirming that this is the direction to go, two-thirds states in the 36 states, then we now go and try to look at that decision in the two-thirds local government of each state. Leaving that aside, we should begin to consider, you said for effective representation,
economic viability as
economic viability. What about now? What's preventing economic viability now? In the 36 states, what is preventing economic viability? Whatever is preventing economic viability that the committee has been able to review and unravel should be the problem they are tackling, not creating 31 states. When there are some cases that you take to court and the judge just look at the case and he strikes it out. I think that's the same way this bill, this proposal.
Yeah, you can never be too sure. You see, because the thing that drives conversation in our environment is politics, and that's quite very unfortunate.
They can't force it to
You see, because this is what you are going to get. The provision has already been set out. If there's a proposed state in your area, 2/3 of members of the House at the Green Chamber representing that place should first vote for it. So let's assume, for example, in Delta State, that you have about 5 people representing in the House of Rep. So you just need 3 people to say yes at the floor of the House, and then 2 say yes at Senate. Now, if you come to the House of Assembly, the people representing in the House of Assembly, you just need a 2/3 to say yes. And once that 2/3 in the House of Assembly say yes, then the provision of the 5th schedule of the Nigerian Constitution that lists the numbers of states would have been amended. And the people on the street will not even have an idea.
The local governments have a role to play.
What happens? Because the provision on the Constitution is, you see, you have 2/3 of your state assembly of all the 36 states. And once you can get the 2/3 of state assembly, then of course you can amend the provision within the Constitution. Now, what that means is that because the local government are represented in the state assembly, so what this means is that it is the political elite that will determine the expediency of this creation. The very common man with a common sense on the street will not even be involved in the debate. So this is the problem, which of course Africa is facing, and especially in our own claim here in Nigeria, because you are seeing that those who are leading conversation are people who are interested parties. And like I said to you just now, and I can say that without fear of any contradiction, that every member, like you said, of the lower chamber, they are very young, and all of them have aspiration to become governors in their states. And if you are taking 4 years, that's 20 years. By the time some of them are getting to their turn, they would have been 70 years. So it's easier to balkanize the state structure
so that it gets
so that
to
they can get
everyone
to them
on time.
quickly. So this is the consideration here. And it is unfortunately very selfish. It has nothing to do with development of people. It has nothing to do with construction of more roads. It has nothing to do with anything except that those who want to become governors, or those who are also aspiring, because those are the National Assembly, are also struggling. People are also on queue to enter the State Assembly also, so that there will be room for your political lineage to be represented. Because as we speak, whether it's at the national level, at the state level, at the local government level, the issue is here representation. The people who work for you, you cannot appoint every one of them. And because you are not able to appoint every one of them, what happens is that you incur some political enemies who feels that you have ignored their support for your own ambition, and you don't also have to provide something for them to eat. So people don't get into politics in Nigeria because they are really interested about how to get the entire society working. At least that statement that came out last week from a very senior political member, a man who has been in the House of Assembly, became governor, became minister, even had an ambition to become the president of Nigeria, said that poverty drove him into politics.
You know the
and incidentally, that almost every politician, they are at the same kind of motivation to
and
join politics.
That's what's also pushing some other persons into politics. The reason some people aspire to become politicians, or some citizens aspire to become politicians, is because they've seen the drastic change that has taken place in the lives of people they know who were struggling financially, struggling with their career, and once they got into politics, even as council chairman, they saw that change in fortune for them, and so they want to become like them. The sad part here is that it will be easy for the ruling class to convince the citizens that this is for your good, because areas where they felt they have been marginalized, if you sell this narrative to them that have you, as your area, produced a governor, they tell you no. So this is the chance for your area to produce a governor. If we create more states and your area now has a state, so chances that you would get somebody from your area to become a governor, or you will get your own local government that attend to your own needs, will be there. They embrace it because they feel it's the truth. Oh, we would have our son, we would have our daughter as leaders. But the question that they would not ask is, the sons and daughters that we have had, what have they done?
Look at it.
Of the sons and daughters that we've had so far, what have they done?
Yeah, look at it, even historically. When the Midwestern state was to be created in 1963, what were the considerations? There was a huge agitation for the creation of Cross River Ogoja State. There was a huge agitation for the creation of the Middle Belt states. And people like Joseph Tucker, they were at the forefront to say, well, the North is over oppressing us and we need to have our states. And eventually, when the decision of the creation of the state was taken, it was not done because Midwest was the most valuable. It was only done to reduce the power of Abafemi Awolowo in the Western region. And because Nnamdi Azikiwe and Tafawa Balewa were in alliance, they refused to reduce the strength of their region. And they cut the Midwest so that the influence of Action Group can be curtailed. So when you take it historically, you will find that really it has never been about the people. It has always been about political calculations. And that is why I keep using Claude Aker's work, How Politics Underdevelop Africa. Because everything we think about has only political undertone. Whether it's going to work eventually is not the issue. There's not even a point of conviction, because they themselves are convinced and they are pushing their own agenda and they are driving it. And somehow it just came out now and you won't hear anything about it. Maybe the next thing you hear, the president would have assented and they said that one state is created. Nigeria now is 67 states.
Well, before we leave that, I quickly want to say that the people who would want to support this move, you know your reps. You know when they come to ask you, what do you want? Now, before you say yes or no, look around you. Look at those who have been representing you. Look at those who you would say are from your area. And if you say you've never had anyone from your area, but perhaps you've had local government chairman from your area, you've had council chairmen from your area. So what have they done? Where would the money to run the states come from? Are the states going to be creative? Imagine 36 states put together, less than 2.5 trillion naira. And of that, one state accounts for more than half of that. So if you have more states created, where is the fund or where is the resources going to come from to attend to this state? There are issues of resource control that the reps can talk about. There are issues of policing. The issue of state policing has been on the front burner for a very long time to address insecurity. There are many other issues that they can talk about. Are you going to draw the attention to it, or are you going with creation of states? Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like there's much that people can do, but the little that the people can do by adding their voice or saying, no, we will not add our voice to this, do not be silent on this, because what happens at the end of the day might affect you. For those states that were created, some of those states shared. It was Bendel, they took out Delta, took out Edo. For Ekiti and Ondo, I think, they were together, and then they broke them apart. Go check. Have they become better since they were broken up? Let's ask ourselves those questions while we move on to the next conversation.